Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another video. Now, today I'm going to be doing another probably controversial video which will get a lot of anger from people in the comments and you know that's always fun. But today I'm going to be ranking all of the Doctors from best to worst. Now, to make this clear, it's all of the Doctors that have a number, so after the events of the Timeless Children, I am not going to be including all those random people. I will, however, mention where I would put Ruth, the Ruth Doctor, the Timeless Doctor, whatever you want to call her, Jo Martin's take on the character, as she did have a significant amount of screen time. Therefore, I think it's only fair that I briefly mention where I put her when we get to that point. Anyway, let's get on straight with the video. So, in at the number 14 spot is John Hurt. So, he's bottom of the list, and this is basically simply because I never fully connected with his Doctor and felt like he needed to be more developed. And a major problem I have with his take on the character is that he's ultimately a placeholder. He's not really needed. He was only there to fill Christopher Eccleston's shoes in the Day of the Doctor, the 2013 50th anniversary special. And yeah, I think John Hurt performs well with what he's given, but I don't really get the sort of Doctor vibes off his character. He seems quite distant from the rest of them, which, I mean, fair enough, because they did bring in a big name actor like John Hurt to play the character, but he doesn't quite click with me. So, yeah, that's why he comes bottom of the list. I also want to make it explicitly clear, I don't dislike any of the Doctors. I think they're all brilliant, even John Hurt. I don't enjoy him as much as the others, but every single Doctor has at least something valid about their characterisation. Coming in at the 13th spot, Carrot Juice, Carrot Juice, Carrot Juice, the 6th Doctor, played by Colin Baker. Now, I know, yes, it's a cliche to put him at the bottom of a ranking, but in all honesty, I just don't enjoy his Doctor as much as the others. And none of this really is the actor's fault. I mean, the costume is ridiculous, and some of the writing in his tenure is even worse. Sadly, I often fail to connect with his Doctor, but in all honesty, Colin Baker is a really nice person in real life, and I wish I could put his Doctor higher, but in all honesty, I can't. So, yeah, Colin Baker comes in at the number 13 spot. Now, moving to number 12. He's the Doctor, but probably not the one you were expecting. Paul McGann's 8th Doctor. He's in the number 12 spot. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore his Doctor, but we simply haven't seen enough of him to get a full picture of his character. The 2013 episode Night of the Doctor, which runs for only 7 minutes, seemed to be a short window into what could and should have been, but sadly that's all that it was. I know he has done many Big Finish stories and audiobooks and whatever, but I haven't listened to any as of yet. Hopefully I will in the future, and this could probably allow me to put him higher up on the list. But for the moment, Paul McGann has got to stay in the number 12 spot. Now, moving on to number 11. Sylvester McCoy's 7th Doctor. Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc. An unusual and quite unique take on the Time Lord. The 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, is a Doctor who started off being silly and comedic, but swiftly grew into a confident and somewhat dark take on the character. He's a brilliant performer, but I can't quite pin down why I don't click with his Doctor as much of the others. Some of his lines seem to be clearly from an actor's mouth and not a character. That could just be me though. He has definitely improved in later seasons and episodes, such as The Curse of Fenric or Remembrance of the Daleks, and especially his final episode of the classic series, Survival. But I, as a viewer, don't click with his Doctor as much as the others, so yeah, McCoy is at the number 11 spot. Continuing the list, coming in at number 10 is the only person who would ever be able to pull off a decorative vegetable, Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor. Now, he's a far more human take on the character, who rarely raised his voice, but when he did, you knew that there was trouble. Having some standout stories in his tenure, such as my personal favourites of Castrovalva and Black Orchard, the Fifth Doctor's era was incredibly enjoyable, and I can liken it to the classic version of Series 11 and 12, with a younger, blonde, excitable Doctor and a crowded TARDIS. And this is a style which I do actually enjoy in both modern and classic Who, and I can't really fault Davison's performance. He seems more human than alien, but then I think that was kind of the point in his character, and he did pave the way for doctors like David Tennant to come along. So, yeah, he's in at number 10. Now, number 9. Oh, brilliant. The current face of the show, Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor. Now, this will be a controversial place to put her Doctor, as many will complain I put her too low on the list, and many of you out there will also complain I put her too high on the list. And to those of you, I say, it's just my opinion. Now, she's not a perfect Doctor by any means, but the enthusiasm from 13 is infectious. Her love of travelling and fear of losing her friends, while also being rather reckless, she has all the characteristics of a good Doctor. But sadly, these lines aren't always delivered in the best way. Nor does she have the best writing. Although I love many episodes of Series 12, this is why the 13th Doctor comes in at the 9th place. Now, moving on to number 8, the top half of this list. Jon Pertwee's Third Doctor, the Doctor Who's answer to James Bond. He was ready for action in whatever danger faced him, ready for a fight. Having a warm and caring voice which could turn to anger and abrasiveness whenever necessary, the Third Doctor was a truly worthy opponent for his adversaries. His tenure also introduced many classic villains, some of my favourites of all time, such as the Master, Silurians and Sea Devils, and one of my personal favourites who really needs to make a return to the modern series, Omega. Now, I'll cut in here and briefly mention that this is the place I would put Jo Martin's whatever number Doctor she is. Yeah, it's quite high on the list, and yes, we haven't seen much of her, but I think she gave a really brilliant performance, so this is where she deserves to be. Now, swiftly moving on to number 7. The small cosmic hobo, the Second Doctor, played by the wonderfully talented Patrick Troughton. A Doctor who is often overlooked by his enemies and viewers alike, as he gives off the impression of a bumbling idiot who has no idea what's going on. However, this could not be further from the truth. A brilliant mind who could outsmart any villain thrown at him, who excels in reassuring his companions, is hidden under layers of stupidity. And it works really, really well. A special moment that stands out to me is in the episode Tomb of the Cybermen, when he comforts his companion, Victoria, helping her get over the loss of her father. A truly splendid performance. Now, moving into the number 6 spot, he's not a Doctor, he is the Doctor, the definite article you might say. Tom Baker, the 4th Doctor. From the jelly babies to the ridiculously long multicoloured scarf, the 4th Doctor is the peak of British eccentricity. With his wide, cheesy and infectious grin, that Tom Baker could tell a story and display emotions with just his eyes, and his facial expressions were truly alien, which led to him overall having a truly alien performance, while still having that lovable human side. Now, you never quite knew whether or not he was being serious, yet when the time came, he'd always be one step ahead of the enemy and ready to gloat in their face in a hilarious fashion. Tom Baker's tenure is the longest of any Doctor. That's just over 7 whole years, and not a year of that was wasted. Now, moving to the number 5 spot. He's the Doctor. The original, you might say. He's the rough, grumpy but loving grandfather kids all over the UK wanted. William Hartnell's first Doctor. Without such a perfect performance from Hartnell, there is no way on earth the show would have survived for the 57 odd years that it has done. The first Doctor really did pave the way for all the future Doctors and captivated a whole generation of kids, which are now having grandkids, who are also captivated by his wonderful performance. Despite Hartnell's clear struggle in remembering his lines towards the end of his tenure, he was still a joy to watch develop and grow into a more rounded and lovable, likeable character. After all, it all started out as a mild curiosity in a junkyard. Leading us to the number 4 spot. This might be somewhat controversial, but in at number 4 is the 10th Doctor, played by iconic British TV star David Tennant. The 10th Doctor was always a welcome face, staying for the perfect amount of time in the role. His happy-go-lucky, excited, yet somewhat melancholy take on the Doctor is really, really captivating. And although he has a more vain side to him, he is still a truly iconic Doctor, with some of the best writing, best seasons, and best companions in the show's history. Well, arguably, of any show ever. The Russell T Davies era is a true gem of television. His chemistry with Donna is a special standout and one of the best Doctor-companion pairings in the show, which makes me put him at the number 4 spot. Now, moving to number 3. The first Doctor I ever properly watched as a child. The Doctor who got me engaged with the show. Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. The only man who has ever been able to prove definitively that bow ties and fezzes are, and always will be, cool. The thing I love and find captivating about Smith's performance is the impression of a somewhat ancient alien man stuck in a really young, excitable man's body. The energy put into the part was outstanding and really, really infectious, and his comedic timing was impeccable. Definitely the best comedy from any Doctor. Being a good role model and hero to look up to for young me, Matt Smith's 11th Doctor takes the 3rd place. Now, this is where it gets really difficult because, quite honestly, on any day I could put Tennant Smith and the person I've chose for number 2 in the same place. It really just depends, but I've tried to narrow it down. And in the number 2 spot, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The 9th Doctor, portrayed by Christopher Eccleston. A phenomenally emotional and fun performance. This Doctor paved the way for the modern show to survive, and he did so in an extremely, extremely clever way. Arguably, without his influence, the show would not still be going strong today. Every emotion felt by the 9th Doctor, I felt too. There was something incredibly special in the way that Eccleston delivered the lines, really engaging the audience. Especially as a child, his hatred of the Daleks is what made them such a terrifying and scary threat. A fantastic Doctor, in the well-deserved 2nd place. Now, to no surprise to anyone that knows me, in the 1st place, we have the iconic 12th Doctor, portrayed by Peter Capaldi. From his style to his attitude, he is the perfect blend of classic and modern Doctors, also having the best emotional arc of any Doctor to date. Starting off grumpy and shut off from the world and questioning whether or not he is a good man, he eventually was able to grow into a carefree, loving old grandfather, who's slightly senile and can't accept how old he looks.
How can you think that I'm her dad when we both look exactly the same age?
We do not look the same age.
I was being kind.
Yeah, and you're thinking, well, he doesn't look old enough.
No, I'm wondering what you're supposed to be lecturing on. My granddad.
Oh, come on. Father, at least, please.
I am younger.
While not always being given the best scripts, there is never even a slight fault in his performance. His cheesy grin and his run, which Bill describes like a penguin with its arse on fire, all adds to a perfectly interesting, fun, dynamic take on the character. Absolute perfection, if you ask me. You're never going to top the 12th Doctor. So, that does bring us to the end of today's list. What were your thoughts? What's your opinion? Please do drop them in the comments down below. Tell me who your favourite Doctor is, who your least favourite Doctor is, and why. I'd love to discuss it with you. Anyway, that truly does bring us to the end of today's video. If you did enjoy, remember to like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below.
Subscribe to the Confused Adipose.